I think a significant number of organisations are underperforming anywhere between 15, 20, 30% because they don't maximise the performance of their people. I think the other challenge for organisations is that they don't focus the effort of their people onto what really matters in terms of client service. How can we be efficient? How can we innovate? How can we optimise risk? What can we do? I think entrepreneurial leadership as a concept is a way that we might be able to use to take us forward into a world where some of those things are addressed.
But we need your elaboration on that, because we are talking for many years and we are still talking, and it is much more necessary now.
The challenge from my perspective is that we run organisations too much on the basis of the assumption that everybody knows A, what's going on, B, what we should be doing. We made it absolutely explicit to senior leaders, this is your responsibility in terms of the development of people. And I've spoken to senior leaders in other organisations and say, so what do you think you should be doing day to day to develop the performance of people? And the range of answers that you get is colossal. That there are probably 10% of people who naturally get this. But you cannot run an effective organisation that becomes world-class on the basis of 10% of leaders getting it and 90% of leaders not having a clue. So therefore the question is, how do you get that other 90% at least in some way involved? And I think it's about clarity of responsibility. It's about having a clear idea of where you're going and then being given the tools to do
Businesses need to be bolder across Europe if we're to dig ourselves out of this economic slowdown. So said David Cameron at Davos. But how should businesses be bolder? Well, according to Professor Chris Roebuck of Cass Business School, Professor of Transformational Leadership, the answer is entrepreneurial leadership. Chris Roebuck is with me now. Chris, what do you mean by that?
Entrepreneurial leadership is really emphasising the elements of leadership that you would expect an entrepreneur to be using when they're setting up a business and really getting the thing motoring at the beginning. And what it means is it means focusing utterly on what your customer wants. It means taking personal responsibility. And within the corporate world, that means taking responsibility as if you were running that little part of the business yourself. It also means actually managing risk and not minimizing risk, like most organizations that get large try to do. And it also means that you should be innovative and creative wherever you can. So it's trying to transfer those key entrepreneurial skills into the corporate world to help those organizations find a way forward.
here, though, would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's the vote by the shareholders is non-binding, so it doesn't really force the bank to take action and cut pay. But what will they do? I mean, some would say they'd be pretty stupid to ignore it.
You effectively have more than half of your shareholders who do not approve your executive remuneration, whether it's non-binding or not. It's a fairly strong and significant message.
Chris, great stuff as always. Thanks.
So an inspirational manager, it seems, can make the world of difference to a football team. What about business?
I agree in some ways, but in other ways, let's be fair, bearing in mind the amount of money that those Chelsea players are getting each week.
It's a lot of brotherly love
exactly,
there.
so if they didn't score at all, they'd still be slightly better off than probably even Bob Diamond. But going to the organisational side of it, the CEO's role sometimes is overestimated. Within this debate about executive pay, people have completely forgotten the employees. We know that employees, if they, like the example from the top of the organisation, can give up to 30% extra effort for the same money in the same time.
First of all, we hear this phrase, rogue trader, once again. How can it keep on happening?
That is actually the big question that I suspect the
Well, the interest in the personal aspect of Francois Hollande's day has raised an interesting question. How can you continue to be an effective leader if you're mired in scandal? Joining me now, Chris Roebuck, visiting professor of leadership at Cass Business School. Welcome. I guess it depends what type of scandal, you know?
Absolutely. And the key thing about being a leader is that inevitably you're going to say to people, this is what you should be doing, this is what's important. And if you then do something that contradicts that message in front of those people, they're going to be asking questions about your credibility. So the key question is, does your action contradict what you're saying is the right thing to do? So for example, for a chief executive who's saying you must work hard, but is then caught having an affair, people will say, well, hang on, he's still working hard, but he's had an affair, but does that really matter? Not that much. If you're a chief executive and you say you must treat customers with integrity and look after their best interests, and they see you not doing that, then you do have a credibility problem.
Putting in place policies, real policies, how difficult is it?
It shouldn't be that difficult because it's just the way a good organisation should work.
The key thing for the banks is to just get down from the top, from the chief executive, what is right and what is wrong, so that the people throughout the organisation don't even start doing things wrong, rather than looking at it and saying, oh, it's not illegal, it makes money, so who cares if it's immoral.
Chris Roebuck, thank you very much. Fascinating to talk to you again.
Банкиров лондонского сити пытаются приучить к скромности. В начале года финансисты традиционно...
Медсестра или солдат, воюющий в Афганистане за всю их жизнь.
Se la cultura che domina in banca è quella che pretende la perfezione per fare carriera e guadagnare più soldi, beh...